They didn't even look me in the eyes when they said it. My son stood awkwardly, shifting from foot to foot, and she, his wife, leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed like a queen giving orders. "There's just no space for you this year, Patricia," she said. "It's going to be tight, and honestly, the kids don't really know you that well." It was Christmas Eve. I had cooked every year for 25 years. I had hosted birthday parties, wiped noses, paid bills when they were short, and now I was a burden. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I simply nodded. But that night, I opened a drawer I hadn't touched in a decade. A folder. A deed. A secret none of them ever cared to ask about. If I was no longer family, then they no longer had a home. The house still smelled like cinnamon and rosemary when I arrived with my small casserole dish. I had made it out of habit. A sweet potato baked with toasted pecans, Tommy's favorite when he was little. I stood at the front door for longer than I should have. No one came to greet me. Through the frosted glass, I could see shadows moving, hear laughter. Someone had put on Michael Bublé, his Christmas album. I had bought that CD when Tommy was 16. Now it played in someone else's living room. When I finally knocked, it was my granddaughter who opened the door. Emma, just 8. She blinked up at me, confused. "Mom said you weren't coming," she whispered. "I just thought I'd drop this off," I said, handing her the warm dish. She looked unsure what to do with it. Behind her, I saw them all, my son, his wife, her parents, their cousins. The table was full of people I barely knew, full of noise I no longer belonged to. And then she appeared. Melanie. She didn't even pretend to be surprised. "Oh," she said flatly, "you actually came." "I brought the casserole. I'll be on my way." "Good. There really isn't a place set for you," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. My son stood behind her. He didn't meet my eyes. It was the kind of moment where everything freezes, not outside, but inside, like your soul forgets how to move. I turned, walked down the snowy path. He didn't follow. No one did. When I got back to my apartment, I didn't cry. I took off my coat. I poured myself tea. And then I pulled the deed from the drawer beneath my bed. They had no idea what I still owned, no idea who really paid for that house they lived in so comfortably. But they were about to find out. The apartment I live in now is small, quiet, but before, it wasn't. Before Tommy got married, I lived in that house, the one with the blue shutters and the wraparound porch, the one he now calls his, but it was never his. After Richard, my husband, passed, I downsized. I couldn't take the silence of the big rooms anymore. So I made a decision that seemed full of love at the time. I signed the house over, to myself. That sounds strange, doesn't it? But I didn't transfer the deed. I let them move in, I let them decorate, I let them call it home. But I never gave it away. It was still under my name, and no one ever asked. They assumed. That's the danger of comfort. People start assuming they're entitled to what was given freely. I remember Melanie saying once at a barbecue, "We're lucky Tommy's mom left us this place. God knows we couldn't have afforded it." And I smiled. Because at the time, it didn't matter. I was just happy they had a place to grow their family. But people like Melanie, they don't appreciate what they don't earn. She started small, controlling where I sat at dinner, choosing what I could bring to holidays. Then came the comments. "She's a little much. She's too sensitive. She makes everything about herself." And now, I wasn't even invited to Christmas. Funny how fast love becomes inconvenience, how silence becomes permission, how mothers become burdens. But I was done being quiet. That night, I poured a glass of wine and reread the contract. The mortgage had been long paid, taxes in my name, insurance too. Everything legal, everything solid. I wasn't just a mother. I was their landlord, and my patience had expired. The next morning I called Mark. He's an old friend, my husband's former attorney. Semi-retired now, but still sharp as ever. The kind of man who speaks slowly because he never has to repeat himself. "Patricia," he said, "been a long time." "I need to start a formal eviction," I told him. Silence on the line for a second. "Tenants?" "My son, his wife, and their chosen family." Another pause. Then, "You sure?" I sipped my tea. They told me there was no place for me, and I believed them. Mark didn't ask more. He never did. He just said, "All right, I'll send the papers." I wish I could say I hesitated, that I felt some guilt or fear, but I didn't. Because this wasn't about revenge. Not really. It was about memory. It was about respect. It was about the truth buried under years of sacrifice. For 3 weeks, I said nothing. I let them host New Year's parties, post smiling family photos on the porch I had once painted by hand. Let them toast to new beginnings in the house I never stopped owning. Let Melanie brag on social media about how hard work pays off. And then they got the letter. I didn't deliver it. I wasn't there. But I know exactly how it must have felt. The thick envelope with legal lettering, the disbelief, the panic. Tommy called that night. 7 missed calls, then a message. "Mom, what is this, please? Tell me it's a mistake. Mel's freaking out." But I didn't reply. I turned off my phone, and for the first time in years, I slept like a child. Because sometimes silence is louder than rage, and peace comes not from holding on, but from letting go, letting them fall on their own, letting the truth do what my voice never could. 3 days after the letter arrived, there was a knock at my door. Not the loud, angry kind, a soft, uncertain one, like someone knocking on a memory. I opened it, and there he was. Tommy, no jacket, no umbrella, just a sweatshirt and eyes that didn't know where to land. For a moment, neither of us spoke. And in that silence, I saw it. The boy he used to be. The boy who scraped his knees on the driveway. The boy who used to cry when I left for work. The boy who forgot who I was the moment someone told him I didn't matter anymore. "I didn't know," he said. His voice cracked like the edges of the welcome mat beneath him. I stepped aside, wordless. He came in. He looked around like it was a stranger's place. He hadn't visited me here in 2 years, maybe more. "I thought the house was mine," he said quietly. "Everyone did." I nodded. "That's the problem, Tommy. You thought." He sat on the couch like a child summoned to the principal's office. His hands fidgeted. His knee bounced. "She didn't tell me she was going to say that," he said. "She told me afterward. Said she was tired of pretending you belonged." That part hurt more than I expected. "She didn't pretend, Tommy. She erased." His head dropped. I waited. Then finally he asked it. "What happens now?" I looked at him long and still. "That depends," I said. "Are you here because you miss me? Or because you're scared of losing the house?" He didn't answer, and maybe that was answer enough. It rained that morning. Not a heavy storm. Just a quiet, steady drizzle, like the sky had decided to grieve for someone. I watched from across the street. Not hiding, not spying. Just witnessing. The moving truck pulled up at 9:42 a.m. 2 men got out, checked their clipboard, and walked up the familiar stone path. My path. Melanie opened the door. Her face was bare, no makeup, no filter. She looked smaller than usual, not just physically, smaller in presence, in arrogance. She spoke fast, waving her arms. I couldn't hear, but I knew the script. There's been a mistake. This is illegal. She can't do this. We have kids. But the thing about paper trails is, They don't lie. The deed had my name. The insurance had my name. The taxes, the mortgage history, all mine. She wasn't yelling at movers. She was yelling at consequences. Tommy came out 5 minutes later holding a box. He didn't look at her, didn't look at the house, didn't look for me. He just walked to the truck and loaded it, box after box, memory after memory. Like he knew. This wasn't about the furniture. It was about what he let rot between us. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel guilt. I felt something deeper, a strange calm like the kind that comes after surgery. You still ache, but at least now you've removed the cancer. Around noon, Melanie sat on the porch steps, soaked, shivering, silent. She looked like someone who had never truly believed the fire could reach her, and now stood in ash, wondering when it had started burning. I went home before they left. Not because I couldn't watch, but because I didn't need to anymore. Some storms don't need thunder. They just arrive and sweep clean everything that forgot who held the sky. I thought she'd leave without a word. After all the years, all the dinners, all the cold smiles, I assumed she'd hold on to her pride until the very last second. But pride, it turns out, doesn't pack well, especially when you're forced to carry it alone. I heard the knock just after sunset. When I opened the door, Melanie stood there, her hair soaked, no umbrella, no makeup, just her, stripped of everything except the mask she always wore too tight. She didn't ask to come in, didn't look around, didn't offer a fake smile. Why? She asked. Not angry, not pleading, just confused. As if cruelty had been her language for so long, she couldn't understand being answered in silence. I held her gaze. You made sure I didn't feel like family, I said. I simply stopped acting like I was. She blinked like the words took a moment to land. I was just protecting my space, she whispered. No, Melanie, I said quietly. You were shrinking mine. She shifted her weight, looked past me into my small apartment, into the quiet, clean simplicity of a woman who had given enough. We don't have anywhere to go, she said. I nodded slowly. You'll figure it out. You're smart, resourceful. You've always managed to take what you needed. There was a long silence, one that hummed with things neither of us would ever say. Then she said something I didn't expect. I never thought you'd fight back. I almost smiled. I didn't fight, I said. I stopped folding. She stood there for a moment more, then turned, walked away. No drama, no tears, just the soft steps of someone learning, finally, that not all power screams. Some power simply closes a door. They never called again. No more texts, no apologies, no "we miss you" messages. Just silence. And in that silence, I bloomed. I went back to my garden, the small one on the apartment balcony. Tomatoes, rosemary, lavender. Things that grow when tended with patience. Things that never ask more than what you can give. Some people told me I was harsh, cold, that family is family no matter what. But those are the ones who never had to swallow disrespect just to be allowed in the room. The ones who never watched their love get treated like a favor. The ones who confuse being quiet with being weak. What they don't understand is this. I didn't destroy a family. I ended a performance. And in doing so, I gave myself back to me. I don't hate Tommy. He was raised to be polite, not brave. And bravery is what it would have taken to stand between me and her. But love without courage isn't love at all. It's just fear wearing a mask. Now, I wake up with peace. I cook for one. I water my plants. I light a candle each evening and let the quiet remind me that dignity is never too old to return home. They said there was no place for me, so I built one for myself, and this time no one else holds the keys.